What's up? Back here with another video, man. UFC 322 is here. I'm here to give my full card predictions. This card is just stacked with fights. I mean, just the main event and the co-main event alone, man. Like, it's just so good. It's such a good fucking card, and I've been waiting for this for months now. And it's here. It's gonna be here in a few days. Just a couple more sleeps, and we're gonna see one of the greatest cards this year. Or, honestly, the greatest card this year. I'm gonna say this could be better than UFC 300. Although I don't know if anything's gonna top that card. Anyways, let's start off with the first fight. We got Vorslav Boyshev versus Mateus Camilo. Now, Camilo did not have a good performance in his last fight, and I think it was just because it was his first fight. Although Borshev is a really good striker and he does have some good hands, I think the glaring problem in this fight is the fact that his grappling is just so bad. It's just not good. And to be honest with you, I think Camilo, he is a young fighter. It was his first fight in the UFC, and I think he does have a gas tank issue. But I do not think this fight's going to make it past the first round. I think Mateus Camilo will put on the pressure. Think he'll open up with the 1-2, and then I'll think and you know what? I think he's going to just take him down. I think he's just going to get this fight to the ground. And to be honest with you, Borshev's takedown defense is atrocious. I mean, and you look at his last fight too against Terrence McKinney. I don't know when that fight was. It was a while ago, but against Terrence McKinney, he did not look good at all. He got ragdoll on the ground. And Terrence McKinney, honestly, like, he's a good grappler, but he just isn't as strong as Camilo on the ground. I think Camilo's takedowns are pretty good. I do think that his grappling is going to take over in this fight. I'm expecting a Camilo round 1 sub. I think Borshev, honestly, being in the UFC, he's still in the UFC with an 8-6 record. It just kind of too much, It's too much. And before you say it, he does not have a 69-inch reach advantage. That is very wrong. It is true, in fact, that Camilo does have arms. And it does seem like he does have the longer reach here. He is this bit shorter, but he does look like he has the longer reach. Borshev's arms aren't that long. I do think that Camilo's just going to put a bad pace on Borshev to get the takedown and submit him with a rear naked choke. Anyways, that's all. Camilo, round 1 sub. Next, we got Baisungor Susurkayev versus Eric Makhachev. Now we got middleweight Khalil Roundtree versus Khamzat's teammate, and this is a pretty easy fight to pick too. I'm gonna go with Susurkayev by round. I'm thinking he's gonna go get a round 1 sub here. Honestly, I think we're gonna see two submissions in the first 2 fights. But Eric Makhachev, he did get KO'd by Ruzaboyev. He beat Cody Brundage, but I say beat with a very loose tone because he didn't really win that fight. I thought Brundage won that fight. Brundage was able to take down and secure Makhachev very easily, and I think that Susurkayev is 10 times better than Cody Brundage. Susurkayev had a very rocky fight with Eric Nolan in UFC 319, but you got to realize he took that fight on a week notice. He already had a weight cut before. He had to do another weight cut again. Obviously, his performance isn't the best, and he did have some rocky moments where Eric Nolan was able to kind of shock everybody and hurt Susurkayev bad at the end of round 1. But Susurkayev was still able to win that fight by submission. I think Eric Nolan gave a good fight, but to be honest with you, I think looking back, in hindsight, I think it's because Susurkayev had so much hype. He was a huge favorite. I think he was a minus 1,000 favorite, or minus 1,200, I forgot. He was a massive favorite for that fight, so for him to get any type of resistance at all was shocking, but I think Susurkayev is the real deal. He's really good. He has really good striking. I do think that sometimes he does kind of overextend himself and leaves himself open to get countered. And Eric Makhachev does have some good hands, but I do think that Susurkayev is going to shoot a takedown in this fight, and I think he's going to get Makhachev down. And I do think that he's going to get a submission victory. Susurkayev trains with Khamzat. He trains with all those guys, man. And one thing about the team is that they're all monsters. They are all good, very good. And I think Susakayev is going to go for the finish here very easily. I'm going to go with Susakayev by round one or round two submission. Next, we got Angela Hill taking on Fatima Klein, and this is actually a good fight. I actually really like this fight. It's between a upcoming prospect versus a very, very established veteran in the strawweight division. I mean, Angela Hill's fought pretty much everybody. She's had so many fights in the UFC, and I mean, she's been there since the beginning, man. Since the beginning of the division. I think she was on the Tough Show when the strawweight division was founded. And Fatima Klein, she's looked really good. Her only loss is to Jasmine Jasudavicius, who is number 5 in the division, and honestly, that's not a bad loss. It was a decision loss, and I think Fatima Klein is really good. Her striking is very crisp, very clear. She has a good power in her hands. I think she's the faster striker in this fight. You know, Angela Hill, she's not looked good in a lot of her fights. In her last recent fights, I picked her last time against Yasmin Lucindo. She didn't look good at all in that fight. She was getting pieced up, destroyed on the feet and on the ground. And even then, like her win against Ketlin Souza, I felt like Ketlin Souza won that fight. And you know, like she's had split decision wins that could have gone the other way, and if she had split decision losses that could have won her way. But one thing about her is that she is getting worse. And people like to compare her to Neil Magny, but I don't think she just got that. I don't think she got that cockroach energy. You know, she isn't super dangerous in this one field. She's kind of mid at everything. Sorry about that. She's not really that good at a certain thing. She has decent striking. Her clinch game is pretty good, but to be honest here, I think she's a lot slower than she used to be. And I think Fatima Klein has just looked really, really good. And she's on that forward momentum right now. She's on a bit of a win streak. Her only loss to Jasmine Jasudavicius. And then she's getting finishes too. That's the one thing. Fatima Klein is dangerous on the week. She's got power. And I'm going to go with Fatima Klein by decision. I do think that Angela Hill is a bit tough. Like, she's never really been... She doesn't really get finished like that. I don't know when she's ever been finished. I feel like she's been finished before. I'm trying to remember now. But Fatima Klein is a really dangerous striker. And she's got really good kicks. She can back people up pretty easily. And, I mean, her last fight, too, against... It was against David Martinez's sister. I don't know, like something like that. But it was really good. And yeah, I mean she hasn't been finished that much, honestly. And she's a pretty tough person. And I think Fatima Klein is going to get a decision win. I predicted being a 30-27, could be 30-26 too if she drops Angela Hill and almost TKOs her. But I'm expecting a decision win or a late round finish. I'm leaning towards the decision, but late round 3 finish, end of round 2 finish could also be possible. Next, we got Pat Sabatini versus Chepe Mariscal. Now, this is a good fight. This is a very evenly matched fight. Pat Sabatini is honestly a really interesting person because honestly, I wasn't really rating him that high. But he's looked really good. He looked extremely good against Brito, and he had a very dominant decision win. He's a really good wrestler, and that's one thing about him is like he's lost to only 2 people. He's lost to Damon Jackson and Diego Lopez. Diego Lopez, I mean, he's been doing really well, and you know he's put up a hell of a resume, you know. And then you look at Chepe Mariscal. He's on a huge win streak. His grappling is a marvel to watch. I mean, he's really good with the judo and all that stuff, and he's undefeated in the UFC, man. He's had a lot of good wins. He's not really a finisher kind of guy. He's kind of a grind you out and pace, like overwhelm you kind of guy. He kind of just takes you down and just ragdolls you, all that, like that type of stuff. This is going to be a very close fight, honestly. I think that Pat Sabatini is very evenly matched with Chepe Mariscal, but I'm going to lean towards Mariscal because I do think that his pace and the fact that with the judo he can get takedowns against the cage, which is something that we have seen Sabatini kind of get caught up in where he gets backed up pretty easily. And although Pat Sabatini has some good top control and he has some good wrestling as well, I do think that Chepe Mariscal is pretty much a good prospect. He doesn't get much finishes, as many finishes as like a lot of people think a prospect should get, but he's looked really good in a lot of his fights, and I mean he's just looking better and better. And I do think that this forward momentum that he has right now will help him a lot in this fight. So I'm gonna go with Chepe Mariscal by decision. I do think this is going to be a split decision, honestly. I think we're going to see some good reversals. This is going to be a wrestling-heavy fight, a very ground-based fight, and I'm predicting that there might not be as many strikes. You know, I think that this could be like if there's like an over under 50 on Prize Picks or something, go with under 50 for Chepe Mariscal, because this is going to be a grappling-heavy fight. But I got Chepe Mariscal by decision, split decision. Next, the early prelims headliner, Kyle Daukaus versus Gerald Meerschaert. Now, you know we all love GM3, man. GM3, the Chicago Grim Reaper. I mean, he's literally, you know, people can say he's the middleweight GOAT. You know, he has the most finishes at middleweight. He surpassed Anderson Silva. You know, you could arguably say he's the middleweight GOAT. You know, and maybe he is. I think he is, you know. Jokes aside, Jared Meerschaert has been on a huge losing streak, and here's the thing: his loss to Renato Ritter aged really well, and then kind of not well lately. But it was aging really well because he was piecing up Renato Ritter. But I'm gonna be honest with you: when you're losing to Brad Tavares, it kind of just tells me that you're just not at that guy anymore. He's getting older, and I'm going to be honest, he's what? He's like 38, 39 years old now. I mean, he's getting older. He's kind of been on and off. His last win was in mid 2024. And it was an impressive win against Edmund Shabazian, which also is aging well. But he is pretty chinny. And one thing about Kyle Daukaus, I did not give Kyle Daukaus any respect. I kind of dismissed him because he did have a really bad record. And he was cut by the UFC. He was taking his final short notice. But then he goes out there and knocks out Michel Pereira in the first round. I'm like looking back into his regional fights as well. He looked really good in his regional fights. And it just goes to show you, like, he's improved so much as a fighter. And I think he has got fast hands. And he's got power now. Like, to chin a guy like Pereira that easily is very impressive, and he did it with just a few strikes. Like, I think that fight was only like a minute long. Yeah, it was a very quick finish against a guy like Michel Pereira. And I know he doesn't look that good, but man, Pereira is a tough dude to fight with. You know, even Fluffy had some trouble with him in the first round. Even Abus had some trouble with him. And Kyle Daukaus just went out there, KO'd him in the first round, and I expect the same thing to happen. I think Gerald Meerschaert is too slow on the feet. He doesn't really have as good head movement, and he's pretty easy to read. Although he has good grappling and he can put on a pace, I'm going to be real. I think that Renato Ritter performance was kind of a one-off kind of thing. You know, he was on his way to win, but I think that was the worst version of Renato Ritter. He hadn't fought in a whole year, and he's looked better, way better in his other fights. So, like, it's just more of a fact that Gerald Meerschaert just fought Renato Ritter at the right time, but he hasn't looked good in a lot of his fights. He was getting beat by Brad Tavares, who I think is trash. And yeah, I think Kyle Daukaus is going to get another first round KO. I do see it. I do see Kyle Daukaus hitting with a 1-2 and dropping him and getting a TKO ground and pound finish. So, yeah. Next, to open the prelims, we got Malcolm Wellmaker versus Cody Haddon. Now, this is a good fight. This is a really good fight, and it's actually a really good test for Wellmaker as well. You've seen Wellmaker fight all these guys, and he's been getting knockouts, and now he's facing a real prospect like Cody Haddon. You know, he's been making a name for himself. He has put up a hell of a resume as well, and I think one thing about this fight is the stylistic matchup in this fight. Now, Wellmaker's fought mainly strikers, right? But now he's fighting a grappler, and we haven't seen Wellmaker get wrestled. We haven't seen Wellmaker get put on the back foot. He's kind of been taking over these fights, being the one aggressive. But now you got Cody Haddon. He's coming out of Perth. He's been training with good guys like JDM and Kill and Salkill. I feel like that Aussie scene over there has been on a rise very much lately. We've seen Kill and Salkill just destroying motherfuckers in the lightweight division. JDM is a champ now. Cody Haddon, he looked really good in his last fight. And, one thing about this, I kind of see this being like a Peyton Talbot versus Roundy Barcelos kind of situation. We haven't seen Wellmaker get tested against good grapplers. Guys who aren't willing to play that striking game with him. Guys who aren't like Kevin Simon is decent, but I wouldn't say Simon is good. I'm going to be real. He's chinny. He's very reckless on the feet. He leaves himself open to get countered, and it showed in that Peyton Talbot fight. And Moutinho, I'm going to be like, I don't know why people would even rate that as a good win. Like, Moutinho sucks, and Moutinho took that fight on 1 week's notice. I mean, Moutinho was just bound to get knocked out. Like, it was just so obvious. And apart from that, Wellmaker hasn't really fought any really good bantamweight contenders yet. Like Simon was his best win, and I just don't. Simon's not good, man. Like on the feet, he's just not good. And Cody Haddon is good. And you know what? When Cody Haddon was face to fight Alexandre Topuria, I would have picked Haddon to beat him. I was actually planning to pick Cody Haddon to beat him because I actually recognize the potential he has. He's really good. He looked really impressive in his last fight. And he hadn't fought in a while since. This has been a full year. He was injured. I think he had some shoulder, knee injury. I don't remember. It was like a very big injury. And he's coming back off that layoff. And it does affect how this fight could potentially go. But I'm going to be real. I think that Wellmaker hasn't been tested in the grappling. And, people will say, hey, Wellmaker has wrestling. He could wrestle. But could he wrestle a guy like Cody Haddon, who is UFC caliber, who has the accolades, who has a better resume? I mean, and Cody Haddon's only loss is to Steve Erceg. And Steve Erceg is not bad, guys. I don't know why people kind of just shit on that loss. Steve Erceg's not bad. Steve Erceg literally gave Pantoja his toughest fight, and he arguably won that fight too. So, and that was in bantamweight. And I'm gonna be real. I think Cody Haddon, I think he's the real deal, and I do see an upset. I do see an upset here. He's not as big of an underdog, honestly. Wait, what are the odds? I don't know what the odds are. I'm gonna check them. Give me a second. They're very close. I think only Wellmaker's a 2-1 favorite. I don't think he's that big of a favorite here. And I mean for good reason, man. For good reason. Cody Haddon's is the big deal. Yeah, Cody Haddon's a plus 124 underdog. If you want to make some money, man, you gotta go with that. And I think the over 2.5 looks really good because I think Haddon's gonna put up pace on him. I see Haddon winning this by decision or late round TKO, but I'm going to go with decision over this. And I do think this is gonna be 3-round smudge fest. I think Cody Haddon's just going to grapple Wellmaker and test the wrestling and be able to take him down and control him. And with Wellmaker being aware of the takedown threat, I don't think he will be as dangerous on the feet as he usually is. I think Cody Haddon puts a big pace on him. And to be honest, this is a big step up for Wellmaker. He hasn't been tested against these guys yet. Against good prospects. He's fought I'm gonna be real, he's fought the UFC equivalent of cans of fucking taxi drivers. And he looks good in all of them. But what happens when you put him against a stylistic nightmare matchup like Cody Haddon? So, I'm going to go Cody Haddon. I'm going to go Cody Haddon by 30-27, 29-28 decision. Next, we got a top 5 matchup in the flyweight division. We got Aaron Blanchfield versus Tracy Cortez. I did not realize Cortez was number 6. I was very surprised. But this is a rematch apparently, Tracy Cortez actually has a win over Aaron Blanchfield by split decision. It was a very close fight, and it was very back and forth, and honestly, it could have gone to Blanchfield. And now they're in the UFC, and you know what? I'm gonna go. And usually with these rematches, I tend to go with the person who already won, but I'm gonna go with Aaron Blanchfield. I think she's looked really, really good. Her only loss in the UFC is to Manon Fiorot, and Manon Fiorot is practically honestly, she's the number 1 contender right now, and I'm gonna be real, I think she's the best flyweight right now. Natalia Silva's kind of up there too, but Natalia Silva hasn't really beat the who's who yet. So I think we still need to see more from her. I think she is next up for the title, but Erin Blanchfield is really good, and she's improved leaps and bounds since her last fight with Tracy Cortez. And you could just tell, like, her grappling has gotten better. Her striking, I mean, her striking isn't her best part. And you know what? I hope, and I do think this is going to be a grappling fight. And you know what? I do see Erin Blanchfield taking Tracy Cortez down, controlling her, and I see this being a 29-28 decision for Erin Blanchfield. Tracy Cortez is good. She is good, but I do think that she has a problem with grapplers, and we've seen that in the past. We've seen that in a lot of her fights, and she has some good, well-aging wins. She has a win over Jasmine Jasudavicius as well, which is a pretty impressive win. But to be honest, I'm not saying that Jasmine sucks, but I'm not rating Jasmine that high, especially after the fact she got dusted by Manon Fiorot, and then you look at her past wins that got her to the top 5 in a title eliminator, you're like thinking, yeah, it's not really as impressive. But Erin Blanchfield, I think she's going to win this fight. I think she's improved better than Tracy Cortez. And, I do think that her grappling is going to make the difference in this fight. I do think she's going to take down Tracy Cortez. And I do see kind of like a volume battle where I think Erin Blanchfield's she's kind of like a Sean Brady, She has some good, decent boxing. But one thing about her, when she takes you down, she is always trying to go for the finish. And yeah, I do think that I don't know if Tracy Cortez gets finished, I wouldn't be surprised. But I'm gonna go with Erin Blanchfield by decision. Cortez does have some good grappling, so I do see it being a very competitive fight. But Blanchfield by decision, 29-28. Couldn't be split, but I don't think it should be. Next, we got Roman Kopylov versus Gregory Rodriguez, and you're wondering, how did Ben Askren get this? What happened to Ben Askren, bro? Like, he just got out of the hospital. How is he here already? But I don't know, man. They really don't like Ben Askren because they're feeding him to Obama, bro. Now, Gregory Rodriguez is he's kind of like a glass cannon, you want to say. Like, he can be chinny sometimes, and he does have problems with cardio. But when he hits you, he hits hard. And I think Gregory Rodriguez win over Christian Louis-Duncan is aging insanely well. Especially after what he did to Marco Tulio. I mean, damn, how good is Gregory Rodriguez, bro? How good is Jared Cannonier? No, but jokes aside, I do think this is going to be a competitive striking fight. And one thing about it with Roman Kopylov, his striking is good, but he needs to be on the front foot. And with the power threat that Gregory has, I do see Roman Kopylov backing up. And when he's backing up, like we saw against the Costa fight, I do think that his striking is a bit dimmed down. And he's not as active and as forward pressure with the feet. And you look at his past fights too. Cesar Almeida, he had to wrestle to win that fight, and it was very competitive. And there's some cheating going on too. And then you look at the Chris Curtis fight. It was a good war, but when you're going to war with Chris Curtis, it does not really convince me you can go to war with Gregory Rodriguez. And I feel like before that head kick, I feel like Chris Curtis could have won that fight. Then you look at the Costa fight. Costa fight, he was getting damaged pretty easily by the kicks, and that's something that Gregory Rodriguez has in his arsenal. And he was getting backed up a lot, and he got dropped by Costa too. And that's the one thing about him is that I think he is very weak to pressure. He's very weak to pressure, and that's one thing Gregory Rodriguez puts on you. He puts pressure. He makes you wary of the power, because when he hits you, he hits hard. He's a very big middleweight, and he's a very strong middleweight too. And we saw what he did to Hermanson, man. That was fucking brutal. And I do see Gregory Rodriguez getting a KO in this fight. I do see dropping Kopylov bad. And I don't think Kopylov will be able to recover. So I'm gonna go with Gregory Rodriguez by first or second round TKO. I'm going with second round, but it could be first round. I might go first round, honestly. I might go first round, but second round seems safer, but go first round if you want to be ballsy. Next, we got the prelim headliner. We got Bo Nickel versus Rodolfo Vieira. Okay, I don't know what I say. Now, this is a good bounce-back fight for Bo Nickel. I mean, he is facing a grappler. He is facing a really good grappler. And If Bo Nickel wants to make a statement and say that, yes, I am that guy, yes, I can really come back, that RDR fight was not my best, then this is the statement win that he needs. He needs to beat a guy like Vieira. But will he, though? One thing about Bo Nickel that strikes me is that I feel like he's not an MMA fighter. I feel like he's a wrestling guy who's tried to make it work in MMA because it gets him the eyes, it gets him the money. But I do think that he is mainly a wrestler, and one thing about him too is that he doesn't use his grappling enough. And we saw this in the Paul Craig fight where he pretty much was just willing to just strike with Paul Craig, and even when he was striking with Paul Craig, it is so easy to outstrike Paul Craig. He is not a good striker. And even then that fight was a very competitive 29-28 kickboxing battle with Paul Craig. It's embarrassing stuff, and that's why I picked Renier the Ritter against him, because I knew RDR was going to destroy him. Like, it was just obvious. RDR is just so much better than Bo Nickel, and you know what? I think Vieira is a very bad matchup. He's a very good grappler. He is really good wrestling, and his striking is actually really underrated. He's coming off a win against Tresean Gore, and Tresean Gore is a decent striker, and Rodolfo Vieira was having his way on him on the feet, styling on him for 3 rounds, piecing him up. And you look at the Chris Curtis fight as well. Chris Curtis won that fight, but Vieira was making it very, very competitive on the feet. Vieira is a very high pressure. He has really good, decent boxing, and that's something that Bo Nickel has struggled with the boxing. His clinch game is really good too, and he puts a pace on people that, and you look at his past performances too, like against Fluffy, the first win on Fluffy's win streak. I mean, Rodolfo Vieira was having his way with Fluffy in the first round. And to do that to Fluffy, now knowing what he's doing to people now, it's very impressive. And I just don't think Bo Nickel just has what it takes to beat a guy like Vieira. Like, maybe I'm sleeping on him, and maybe he comes out there and he delivers a star-studded performance and shouts out Charlie Kirk and be like, hey, guys, I won, and Charlie Kirk is here, and I want people to remember him, shouting out, they're trying to push this MAGA propaganda. Oh, MMA's not a right-wing sport. Yeah, sure, buddy. But, anyways, no politics aside, but Rodolfo Vieira is a really good grappler. I don't see Bo Nickel out-grappling Vieira in this fight. I mean, he could take him down, but, I do think that Vieira is really good at scrambling and getting on top position. And when he gets on top position, he's a very dangerous threat. And that's something that we haven't seen really Bo Nickel get tested on. He didn't even try to grapple with Paul Craig. And people are saying, oh, he wanted to prove his strike. I feel like he just didn't want to grapple with Paul Craig. And it just showed that level of confidence he had in his grappling. And against RDR, he was trying to grapple. But when he was on top control, he couldn't really do much with it. He could take them down, but he couldn't enact control, do the ground and pound, try to look for submissions. He really couldn't do much with his top control, and it showed a very one-dimensional way to his grappling where, this guy's not a good striker, but he has the wrestling. But that's it. With Kamza only has wrestling, but he has grappling. He has the BJJ. He can choke people out. He can ground and pound people. He's very dangerous when he gets on top of someone. But with Bo Nickel, he's not. He's just not. You can reverse him pretty easily, like we saw against RDR. RDR couldn't even get up when Ben Denali was on top of him. But against Bo Nickel, easy. I can just reverse you, and I can take you down. And then guess what? You give up because you're getting battered. I see the same thing happen with Vieira, and I'm gonna be real. Bo Nickel doesn't strike me as a very tough guy. He doesn't. He is a very he's shown himself to be, he has the accolades, and he deserves all those accolades and the respect that he has in the wrestling, but in the striking, he's very fragile. We saw this against RDR. I mean, those RDR body knees hurt like hell, but I don't know. Is RDR just that good, or is Bo Nickel just that weak? Really, because I don't think those knees really affected Brendan Allen as much. Whitaker, it affected him, but I think Whitaker is just, I'm gonna say this is a very hot take. I think Whitaker is so weak to pressure too. When he gets when the going gets tough for him, especially nowadays, not like back then when he fought Romero. Romero, he was a tough ass motherfucker. And Darren Till as well, and those early days. But nowadays, I think when Whitaker is getting the beats on him, he kind of just doesn't do anything. He kind of just slows down. But I mean, Brendan Allen is just like, you look back at the RDR performance against Brendan Allen, and it just makes you think, how shit is Bo Nickel? And it's just the truth. Like, he doesn't strike me as a good MMA fighter. Like, he's a good wrestler, but that's it. That's really it. He has only overhands in his striking. He has power, but I mean, he hasn't really fought anybody good. And the one good person he fought, RDR, he got destroyed and he gave up. And now he's fighting another good grappler who has good striking. And this isn't Paul Craig, who's going to be willing to just body kick and not do much on the feet and not shoot a takedown. This is Vieira, who is going to put the pressure on you, who is going to try to clinch with you, try to get the body lock, try to get the takedown. And he has very good grappling. He's a multiple time world BJJ champion. I mean, IBJJF champion. I mean, he has the tools, and he's a very well-rounded dude, and he has experience in this game. He's a bit older, but he's a veteran in the UFC. He has more experience. He knows how to fight guys like Bo Nickel. He's fought the who's who in division, you know? So, this is a bad fight for Bo Nickel, and I'm like, dude, like, is it Vieira by decision? I think I'm going to go Vieira by TKO. I'm going to go Vieira by TKO in, honestly, the second round. I think that Bo Nickel's going to get the pace put on him bad. And you know what? Maybe Bo Nickel surprised me and really shows an evolution to his game. He shows really good striking, and he actually does something with his takedowns. And I'd be surprised, and I'd be like, yeah, Bo Nickel's improving. And you know what? Maybe he has a chance. But if he loses to Vieira like the same way he loses to RDR, he doesn't really have a chance at MMA. And I'm going to be real. I'm not even trying to be harsh, but he isn't built for MMA. It's just simple as that. So I'm going to go Rodolfo Vieira. I'm going to go Vieira by round 2 TKO. I think this is going to be a very competitive fight in the first round where Bo Nickel might land some overhands that make Vieira back up a little. I think Bo Nickel's going to try to shoot a takedown. Vieira defends it. Vieira presses forward, lands some good combinations against the cage. Bo Nickel's starting to feel the heat, and he starts to realize that Charlie Kirk is dead and won't help him. So, yeah, and in round 2, you know, he gives up. Because Rodolfo Vieira is blasting knees and he's taking him down. And I think Vieira takes him down, gets top mount, and then TKOs him from the back. So, yeah. Vieira by round 2 TKO. Yes, I'm being very mean to Bo, and it's not because of Charlie Kirk. I don't give a fuck by that. I just don't think Bo Nickel's good. I just don't think he is. So, yeah. Vieira by round 2 TKO. This is such a dumbass fight. And the fact that this was on the main card, too, for like a bit, was just insane. Get the fuck out of the main card. Now we're on to the actual main card, the really good one. We got Beneil Dariush versus Benoit Saint-Denis. Open up the main card. This is such a good fight, man. I mean, we got two heavy pressure grapplers. You know, they're going against each other. BSD is on a bit of a run right now. He's been on a bit of a run, man. He just come off a dominant performance against Mauricio Huffy. He beat Kyle Prepelec. Now he's facing a true test, like Beneil Dariush, who is a tough dude. You know, he is pretty chinny, but I think he has the wrestling and the grappling. And that is something that we haven't seen a lot in BSD's opponents. We saw Moicano taken down pretty easily. And Dustin Poirier, Dustin Poirier is not as good of a grappler, but he is a good striker. Now, Beneil Dariush, he's kind of in a pickle too. You know, he's coming off a win against Renato Moicano, which is, you know, you could do some MMA math and say Dariush beats BSD. And I am picking Beneil Dariush to win this fight. But not because he beat Renato. You know, it's not because of that. I do think that Beneil Dariush is just simply too... I think Dariush is very experienced enough to deal with a guy like BSD. BSD has really good pressure and he has good grappling. But when he faces a good grappler himself, I feel like he is kind of frozen on the feet. And this is not even saying like he gets frozen because of the takedown threat. No, he's just frozen on the feet all the time. He's very easy to counter on the feet. He doesn't really have the best footwork, and he's like a statue on the feet. And Beneil Dariush, one thing about him, he has good sneaky power, and he has really good timing when it comes to counters. And you know, he's beat good people. He's beat Mateusz Gamrot, and I think Gamrot's a way better wrestler than Benoit Saint-Denis. I think he's better all around than Benoit Saint-Denis. I think this is a good fight for BSD, and this is a good matchup to have in the lightweight division. But I do think that Beneil Dariush has still got it. He's still got it, man. I do think that people kind of just sleep on him because he got KO'd by Charles and he got KO'd by Armand. But Those are the two best lightweights right now, apart from Ilya Taporia. And apart from that, he's beat Renato Moicano very decisively. He survived a very rocky first round. He was able to outlast Moicano and get the takedowns and easily control him. And, Benoit Saint-Denis, he's got some sneaky power, but I don't think his hands are that good. Renato is a very good striker, and he has some speed, and he has some very tricky striking as well. So that's why I feel like Renato Moicano is just a way better striker than BSD. So that's why I don't think that BSD is going to knock out Beneil Dariush like that. And to be honest with you, we haven't seen BSD get tested against an actual elite wrestler and a grappler who's tough, who's crafty, who's got submissions, who can actually deal with takedown. Like he has, I think Dariush has really good takedown defense, and he proved that against Gamrot, and he was able to take down Charles Oliveira and control him as well. I mean, he has really good grappling. So I'm gonna go with Beneil Dariush. I'm gonna go with Dariush by decision. I'm gonna go with 29-28 Beneil Dariush decision. Next, we got Leon Edwards versus Carlos Prates. Now, this is a good fight. My boy Leon, he fighting in MSG. We like to see it. This is a striker. We don't have to see Leon fight wrestlers anymore. I mean, I'm happy with that. You know? And this is a really entertaining matchup. Both long, lanky strikers. And Carlos Prates is a bad matchup. I'm going to be real. He is a bad matchup. But I do think Leon has the tools to beat Carlos Prates on the feet. Leon Edwards' only last two losses, they're against Sean Brady and against Bilal Muhammad. And you know what? People shit on him way too much for losing to those guys. Because you've seen what Bilal losing to JDM, yeah. But I feel like JDM could beat Islam. But Bilal and Sean Brady are the two best grapplers in the division. And he's not fighting a grappler anymore. He's fighting Carlos Prates. He's fighting a striker. And I feel like this is his realm. And I think his striking is really good. He has really good elbows in the clinch. He has pretty fast hands, and his kicks are his best asset. And one thing about him too is that I feel like he can establish a takedown threat against Carlos Prates as well. He's had some decent wrestling, and he has some decent grappling of his own too. And I feel like Carlos Prates, he has very good takedown defense, but it's like, I'm gonna be real, if you're getting taken down like Ian Gary that easily and then controlled like that, it doesn't really help your case, man. And Carlos Prates, he fought a guy like Jeff Neal. And to be honest, I'm going to be real. Jeff Neal was making that very competitive in the first round. And I don't think Jeff Neal is all that. He was on a very big losing streak, apart from that RDA win, which was very fluky. And I just don't think that Carlos Prates, he can fight. He has good power and he has really good tools in his arsenal. His Muay Thai is really beautiful to watch. He's very dangerous on the feet. And that's one concern I have with Leon is he able to go 3 rounds without getting knocked out? But I think he can. I think Leon is very crafty. He's very smart himself. He's really well-rounded too. He knows how to just manage the distance really well, be able to mix it up on the feet and also mix it up on the ground as well, shoot a takedown. He's been able to take down Bilal Muhammad, Colby Covington, and Kamaru Usman, who are all 3 very, very good wrestlers. And I know he shot a takedown on Sean Brady, didn't look, but I'm going to be real. Sean Brady's a really good grappler, and it was a well-timed takedown. I'm going to be real. It was the dumbest takedown in history, and I wish he didn't do that. But it was a really well-timed takedown. I felt like he could have taken down anybody else. But Leon Edwards, I think that he's just too crafty, man. He's just too good. I think there's just saying, there is levels to this shit, Leon Edwards, he's a former champion. He's fought the who's who. He's fought these guys. He's fought Brady and Bilal and Usman. And he's fought guys way better than Carlos Prates. And, Bilal, 3-2 decision loss to Bilal is not that bad. Beating Usman twice and dominating him in the trilogy as well. I mean, Leon gets hated so much, partially because, he wasn't as active. Maybe he wasn't the most entertaining fighter. But he truly is one of the best strikers right now in the welterweight division. And I think he'll show it on Saturday night. I do think that Carlos Prates has problems when he's facing technical strikers who can mix it up on the feet, We saw this against Ian Gary. Ian Gary was using those kicks really well to to make Carlos Prates wary of those kicks. And he also used the head kick a lot to prevent Carlos Prates from unleading that left hand as well. And I think that Leon Edwards is going to be able to enact a similar game plan to what Ian Gary did. I do expect to see some grappling from Leon Edwards as well. I think he's going to try to shoot a takedown. Maybe Carlos Prates will defend some, but he's going to do that to establish that takedown threat. And it's going to make Carlos Prates back up. And I do think that Leon Edwards can be able to, keep going tit for tat with Carlos Prates on the feet and cruise himself to a nice decision win. So I'm going to go with Leon Edwards by 29-28 decision win. I do think this is going to be a very competitive striking fight, but I do think that Leon Edwards has the tools in his arsenal to make this close. And you know what? I do think that he's going to try to implement some grappling, and I do think when he takes Carlos Prates down, I think he does have the tools to be able to keep him there on the ground and have some good and be able to get the back and even land some ground and pound as well. Like he was landing some nasty ground and pound on Belal Muhammad at the end of the fifth round. When he was able to reverse, he landed some really nice elbows, and that's one thing about this fight too. In the clinch, he can land some really good elbows, and those elbows hurt, and they've shown in the Belal fight, man. So I think Leon Edwards will show everybody that he ain't done yet. He ain't done yet, man. And I think Carlos Prates is a good win. It will be a good win for Leon Edwards to be able to get back and say, hey, I still want that title shot, man. And you know what? If Leon Edwards beats Carlos Prates, he still somehow deserves the title shot more than Kamaru Usman. I'm going to be real. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Leon Edwards by 29-28 decision. I think that he is just too versatile on the feet. I think he'll be able to mix it up and make Carlos Prates kind of second guess himself on the feet, not be able to kind of be in the flow state like he is usually against Lee Jinglion and Neil Magny and Jeff Neal. Those guys, like, I'm going to be real, they're good, but they're not Leon's level. And we've seen what Carlos Prates has done against an elite striker, and he lost, and he got outboxed. And I think Ian Gary and Leon are pretty similar in styles. So I think Leon Edwards is going to prove everyone wrong, man. It's a good underdog bet, man. You got to go with the underdog, man. Like, Leon Edwards won as an underdog before, man. Got to go with it, bro. Got to go. Next, we got the featured bout of the main card. We got Sean Brady versus Michael Morales, man. This is such a good fight, bro. I mean, you got Michael Morales undefeated, 18-0, coming off two insanely good wins against Neil Magny, against Gilbert Burns. Sean Brady's been making a hell of a mark of himself too. His only loss to Belal Muhammad, very competitive first round in that fight, and he got caught with a strike in round two. And people are saying, like, oh, he tapped his strikes and all that stuff. I felt like it was a shit stoppage anyways. I feel like he was still in the fight, but he was getting pieced up a bit. But Belal has really good boxing. I mean, not good boxing, but, like, he has really good pressure, and he can overwhelm people with his boxing and his high-volume style. But it was a very competitive first round. You can even say that I even had Sean Brady winning that first round as well. Michael Morales, he's looked good in a lot of his fights. He's been able to get some knockouts against some good welterweights like Neil Magny and Gilbert Burns. Gilbert Burns knocking him out in the first round, definitely very, very impressive. And Michael Morales, he has a very big height advantage. He has a very huge reach advantage. Well, 7-inch reach advantage, which is a bit of a trouble for Sean Brady. And I do think that Sean Brady's going to win this fight for one reason. Michael Morales, although he has really good striking, his grappling, he makes a lot of mistakes in his grappling. He lets people get his back. He lets people tie their hands around his body, and he kind of just he gets taken down. He's able to get up, but I don't think he's going to be able to do that against Sean Brady. Sean Brady, when he gets your back and he has really good top control, he's able to kind of keep you there. And with Michael Morales, he's a very long, lanky kind of guy, but he does have holes in his grappling that Sean Brady can very much take advantage of. And sorry with the voice crack, but Sean Brady has looked insanely impressive in his last three fights. Submitted Kevin Gastelum, just ragdolled him on the ground and submitted him. He ragdolled Gilbert Burns, just 50-45'd him, pieced him up most of the rounds. Then he just destroyed Leon Edwards. On short notice, too, by the way. This is a full cam Sean Brady now. But on short notice, he destroyed Leon Edwards and submitted him. First guy to ever finish Leon Edwards in his professional career. And now he's going against Michael Morales, who I think is still unproven. He's fought Gilbert Burns, but Gilbert Burns was already on a huge losing streak, and I'm gonna be real. Gilbert Burns isn't as good of a striker as people think he is. Oh, but he gave comps at a tough fight like 3 fucking years ago. But I think he's very untested. And one thing that I noticed in a lot of his fights is that he makes a lot of mistakes when people try to take him down. They take him down, and he's able to get up because he's very strong and he has some good grappling himself. But when you're going against a guy like Sean Brady, who's so good at grappling, who has really good takedowns, he's able to get submissions and get the back take and be able to have half mount pretty easily, it is very troubling because I don't think Michael Morales is going to be able to get away with it in this fight. I think Michael Morales is going to have success on the feet, and I do see Sean Brady maybe outboxing him in some moments where, he lunges forward, and I do see him shooting a takedown, taking down Michael Morales and controlling him. I'm going to go with Sean Brady, and I'm going to go with Sean Brady by submission, honestly. I do think that he's going to be able to get a guillotine on him and be able to control him. Michael Morales, he's very good, but I think he is still young. He's still too green, and now he's fighting against a guy who is a bit more experienced, who is young in his prime, and I mean, here's the thing: Michael Morales could shock me and just knock out Sean Brady, and that would be insane. Like 19-0, he's now in the number 2 spot. Like, give him the title shot next, man. But I think Sean Brady's just too good right now. He's on a huge momentum. His grappling has looked even better and better. His striking seems to be more improved. He's even fighting with more aggression. I think he's going to be the one pushing the pace against Michael Morales, and I think we're going to see a very dominant Sean Brady submission right here, and I think we could see Sean Brady fight for the title next. People are saying Usman or Shavkat. I think Sean Brady, if he wins this fight, he deserves the title shot next. No debate. So I'm going to go Sean Brady by round 2 sub, but it could be round 3 too. But I'm going to go round 2 submission by guillotine. Oh man, my voice is getting dry. Next, we got the co-main event. We got Valentina Shevchenko versus Zhang Weili. Man, this is such a good fucking fight, bro. This is such a good fight. Bro, like, if you wanted to tell me there's a Volk versus Islam version of WMMA, it's here. Pound for pound number 1 versus pound for pound number 2. Two goats of their respective weight divisions, bro. I mean, this is the super fight that WMMA needed for such a long time. And it is kind of disrespectful giving it a fucking co-main spot. But, I get it. But being on a card like MSG, it's very much deserved. And I don't think people are talking about this fight enough, man. This is a really good fight. And it's such a good matchup. Because this is two people who've dominated their divisions. They're going to test each other. But I feel like, I'm going to be real here. I do think that there is one fighter in this matchup who is more in their prime, and it's Zhang Weili. I think Zhang Weili has looked insanely impressive, and she's been dominating her people in the division. And you look at Valentina Shevchenko, she is very good, and she has beat a lot of people, coming off wins against Alexa Grasso and Manon Fiorot. And I'm gonna be real with you. You look at the performance Weili's putting on and the performances Shevchenko is putting on, you would have to choose Weili in this fight. And you know what? It's just obvious. You have to choose Weili. I do think that Weili is going to be even better at flyweight. She's going to be stronger. She's going to be faster. She's going to be much more. She's not going to cut as much. And people are going to say like, oh, she might be small flyweight. She's small for strawweight. She's the same size as Valentina Shevchenko. I mean, they're pretty similar in height. And although Shevchenko has the reach advantage, I do think that Weili is super good at closing the distance. Although I do think that Shevchenko's striking could give her a lot of trouble here. Zhang Weili is very reckless when it comes to entering and blitzing in, and Shevchenko has some really good counter strikes. That's why I do think this is going to be a very, very, very close fight. And one thing that's going to decide this fight is going to be the grappling. I do think that Weili is going to out-grapple Shevchenko, and we're going to see a very competitive, close fight. So I'm going to go Zhang Weili by decision, and I'm going to go Zhang Weili by split decision. I think this is going to be a split decision fight. I see Shevchenko doing better on the feet, landing less volume, but, landing the better shots. I think Sean Weili is going to be able to take down and control Shevchenko, and she's going to be stronger at this weight too. I feel like this is going to be the best Sean Weili we've seen yet, like even better than what she's doing at strawweight, and she's already looked insanely good in strawweight. So I do think that Valentina Shevchenko is going to be in here for a tough fight, and I'm going to be real. The Alexa Grasso of Shevchenko is the Amanda Lemos of Zhang Weili. And Zhang Weili's fought really good people. Yao Xiaonan, Tatiana Suarez, Amanda Lemos, Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Oh, fuck. I can't even say that name. She's fought really good people. And her only losses to Rose Namajunas, and I'm gonna be real. In the second fight against Rose, Zhang Weili won that fight. I felt like she won that fight. And, people are comparing Rose to Valentina Shevchenko, but I do think that Rose is a bit different, where Rose has that power advantage, while Shevchenko, she has power, but it's not, it really isn't that much good power. She has good kicks, and she has good counter strikes, and she is able to hurt people bad. But I do think that Shevchenko is just a little bit slower now, and I'm gonna be real. I think Zhang Weili is way better than Manon Fiorot, and we just saw how close that fight was. I do think that Zhang Weili is going to win based on her grappling. She's going to be able to take down and hold Shevchenko against the cage and be able to keep on top position. And I do think on the feet it's going to be pretty competitive, where Shevchenko maybe landed the better shots. So I think this is going to be a very close fight, and I have Zhang Weili by split decision. I think this is a pretty good fight, though. This is going to be very entertaining. I can't wait to watch this fight, bro. This is going to be so good. I've been waiting for this fight for a while now. This was bound to happen. And it's happening. Next, we got the fight we've all been waiting for. Della Maddalena versus Islam Makhachev. I mean, this is the fight we all wanted, bro. I mean, bro. Such a fucking good fight, man. And, these are two guys at the best pinnacles of their career. Islam Makhachev, he's just looking better and better. And now he's going up to welterweight, where he is going to be at his best version. I think people are kind of just misleading that, People are accusing his lightweight fight. He's going to look even better in this fight. He's going to look stronger, a lot faster, much more healthier. We're going to see the best version of Islam Makhachev in this fight. But we're also going to see the best version of Della Maddalena in this fight. There's a thing called the champion, boost, The champion confidence boost, where when people who become champions, we become 30, 40% better at everything. We just become better. And Della Maddalena, he's improved so much since his earlier fights. A lot of people look at his earlier fights, even his Gilbert Burns fight, and kind of just point at that. But you look at his Bilal Muhammad performance. This was him coming off a year layoff. He hadn't fought in a whole year. He was taking this title shot, different stylistic opponent, and he went out there and he showed out and he dominated Bilal Muhammad. Bilal Muhammad could not take him down at all, could not control him, and JDM just pieced him up for 5 rounds straight. And one thing about it is that he's getting better. That's the thing. He's getting better. He's young. He's 29 years old. He's entering his prime right now. And we could possibly see the best version of Della Maddalena, and that's actually scary for Islam because, I think this is a horrible matchup for Islam Makhachev. Islam is really good, and I'm going to say it. He's very, very well-rounded. He has good striking. He has good grappling. He has good wrestling. His base is wrestling, and it's his best attribute. But he can strike with a lot of people. He can grapple with a ton of people. And that's the thing about Della Maddalena, This is the most well-rounded opponent he's fought. Gilbert Burns and Bilal Muhammad are both well-rounded, but this is Islam Makhachev now. This is a big step up in competition. Not as big compared to Bilal. Bilal is really good. And I would actually I think Bilal would give Islam a tough fight too, but I do think that this is a step up in competition, but I do think that Della Maddalena will shock the world in this fight. I have never picked against Della Maddalena, and I'm not going to pick against him this time. And the reason is because I do think that Della Maddalena, I think Islam Makhachev is going to struggle a lot in this fight. Because from what I'm seeing, a lot of people are thinking, he's bulked up. He's going to be 190 pounds. He's going to be pretty heavy for this weight class. I think that's a bad idea. I'm not saying that you shouldn't bulk, but when you add this much muscle, when you add this much things, and you've not had like a long time to actually get acclimated to this new weight class and all that stuff, compared to a guy who's been in welterweight for most of his career, like 99% of his career. He's looked really good. He doesn't have a hard weight cut for welterweight. He's not a big welterweight. He's like 190 pounds himself, too. Like 190, 195. He doesn't cut that much weight. You could tell he's eating fucking burgers and pizza before in the fight week. So he's not having a huge weight cut. Then look at Islam Makhachev. He's looked big, but I feel like there is a problem with that. And the big problem is, how is it going to translate into his speed, into his power? He's going to be stronger, he's going to be more powerful, but how is it going to affect his gas tank? Because Islam's gas tank, I'm going to be real, it's not looked that good. You know, Volk, Dustin, like, he is slowing down against those guys. And he does tend to slow down after round 3 if he faces some resistance. And with Della Maddalena, he's going to face a ton of resistance. Jack is very hard to submit. He's very hard to control. He has really good feints. He keeps you guessing. He doesn't really give you opportunities to take him down. You know, when he does, and even when he does take you down, like, he's going to scramble with you. He's going to make it hard for you to be able to work through your positions and all that stuff. Be able to work, because he's always trying to look to get up and explode and all that stuff. And he's a tough motherfucker, bro. Like, he can take damage. He can go and he can keep going. He's an aggressive fighter. And that's the one thing about Islam that I kind of do think that is his biggest advantage. He hasn't fought anyone as aggressive as Jack Della Maddalena, you know? Because he's fought guys like Dustin and Volk. But I felt like, I'm going to be real with you, a lot of the guys he's fought have been wary of the takedown threat. You know, even Charles Oliveira. Now, Charles Oliveira was, when he was putting the pressure on him in round 2, Islam wasn't doing that good. When Dustin started being confident about defending the takedowns, that was when he started to actually go into his flow and start damaging Islam bad. Even Volkanovski as well in round 5 was able to put the pace on him and, you know, drop him and get top control. And we've seen where Islam is kind of like a fast starter kind of fighter. He's really good in the first 2 rounds, but when it gets to the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th round, he starts to slow down. And Jack Della Maddalena, he's a tough motherfucker, and we've seen in the Bilal Muhammad fight, we've seen him go 5 rounds, and he did really well. Although Bilal was able to catch up maybe a bit more in rounds 4 and 5. Jack Della Maddalena was able to steal round 5. He was able to still put on the pressure and make it a tough fight and beat the fuck out of Bilal Muhammad in round 5. Against a guy who's really good cardio. Bilal has some of the best cardio in the UFC right now. He can push 5-round paces. And Islam, I don't see him pushing that pace. And you know, one thing about Islam too, he's willing to strike. I feel like Bilal is a much more aggressive wrestler than Islam. And I think people kind of get that wrong. It's like, oh, Bilal didn't grapple with Jack Della Maddalena enough. He shot 9 takedowns. And the reason why he didn't try to grapple with him is because of the fact that he was feinting, he was doing the down blocks, he was moving around, keeping control of the cage, pressuring Bilal. And Bilal needs to be in forward momentum, forward pressure to be able to get a takedown. And the same thing with Islam, too. I feel like Islam kind of doesn't do well on the back foot. He doesn't shoot takedowns from the back foot, you know? And I do think that Jack Della Maddalena she's just a better striker. His body, and I'm going to say this about too, like his body shots, his body work is something that is going to be, I'm watching that, you got to watch that out for this fight. Because one thing we've learned from Islam Makhachev, he is weak when it comes to defending the body. We saw this against Dustin Poirier in Volkanovski. They're able to get a lot of body shots off him. And they're starting to affect his cardio a lot too. When Dustin was able to hammer in the clinch, he was able to hammer Islam Makhachev with some really good body shots, and you could tell it was really hurting him. And that's the thing about Jack Della Maddalena. He hits harder than Dustin. He's faster than Dustin. He has a lot better combinations and a lot more extended combinations than Dustin. And let's be real, that wasn't even the best version of Dustin Poirier. So, I'm going to be honest with you. I think Islam is going to make this a huge, very, very tough fight. And it's going to be very competitive. But I do think that this is the worst matchup that he could get. Jack Della Maddalena is a nightmare matchup. And that's why I'm going to go Jack Della Maddalena by round 4 TKO. I do think he's going to hurt Islam bad. And I think Islam's going to be discouraged, you know. He's been able to have easy takedowns before, but now he's going to go against a guy who isn't so easy to take down. You know, but you saw this against Bilal too, where Bilal, you could tell he was discouraged. Like when he couldn't be able to take him down, when he tried, he couldn't get the takedown attempt. You could tell he was discouraged, and it allowed Jack Della Maddalena to have better body language and to be able to get that momentum back and be more confident. When Jack Della Maddalena is confident that he can defend the takedowns, that's when he starts pouring the pressure on. And I don't think Islam has fought any fighter like that. This is a very bad matchup. And one thing about that too is like Jack Della Maddalena is 5 years younger than Islam. This is a prime opponent with a full camp who is in the best shape of his career. He's insanely well rounded. He has really good grappling, really good wrestling, really good striking. I mean, I want to say really good wrestling, but he has really good grappling, scrambling ability. He can defend submissions. And he has good forward momentum, good pressure. His boxing is levels above anybody Islam has fought, and he's not a very easy. He's like he has a good chin too. He's never been beaten in 18 fights. I mean, I think Islam Makhachev. Here's the thing: Islam Makhachev could just go out here, prove me wrong, and make it look easy. I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest. I think that Islam Makhachev could get a submission here in the first round, and you know what? Maybe if he does, he could. Islam is just maybe that good, but this is a very tough matchup, and I'm gonna go Jack Della Maddalena by round 4 TKO, round 4, round 5. I think he's going to make this a tough fight. This is a very good version of Jack Della Maddalena right now. We saw that in the Bilal fight, and that wasn't even the best version, man. He could be very much better in this fight, and that could be very discouraging for Islam, knowing that he's fighting a guy who is not able to take down and ragdoll as much, and if he's willing to strike with Jack Della Maddalena and try to prove himself on the feet that he can strike with the best, that's going to really, 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 that's going to suck bad. That's going to be bad for Islam. And we saw that with Bilal. I'm not saying, like, Bilal did, I'm going to be real, he did shoot a lot of takedowns and he was grappling, but he did try to prove himself on the feet too. And every time he did, he was getting pieced up. And Islam Makhachev too, like, I think if he can't take down or hold Jack Della Maddalena, and he's willing to strike with him, I think it's wraps. I think Jack Della Maddalena is gonna hurt him bad. I think he's gonna make Islam suffer. With the body work, I think he's gonna make Islam kind of gas out, and we could see a round 4 TKO, and it could blow off the roof in MSG, and everyone would be shocked, like, holy fuck, how good is Jack Della Maddalena? And in the whole welterweight division's like, oh fuck, we're never getting that belt, damn. We're never getting that belt, dog. But yeah, man. And I'd love to see JDM versus Sean Brady, man, for the title. I mean, that's a good fight. So yeah, I'm gonna go Jack Della Maddalena by round 4 TKO. Anyways, that's all for this video. I'll see you for, I don't know, I might record another video, like another conceptual video, but that's for later. I'll see you in the next one.